Hello, in this video we're going to be talking about neuroglia cells, so let's not waste any of your time. Let's get right to it. Now when we're talking neuroglia cells, we want to recognize that these are neuron support cells. These are cells that the purpose is just to protect and support in whatever way that the neurons need. And so it's kind of like if you're a patient in a hospital and you've got your room nurse, but there's custodial staff, you've got doctors that'll come by, you may have a therapy person that comes by, dietitian that come by. There are a lot of people that might come by to help you in your hospital stay. The neuroglia cells provide all those roles, and you can see that they 50 to 1, and they just have a lot of functions. There are 6 types that we're going to see, and we'll go over those types and what their roles are. Alright, as I mentioned, there are 6 types. 4 of them are only found in the CNS, and then 2 of them are only found in the PNS. So it'll be up to you to really get those 2 groups memorized, and of course the functions and everything that they do. Now this picture beside me here is pretty small, but it is in your PowerPoint and certainly in your book. And there's a bigger version, a larger version on the next slide, but again fairly small, but we're going to try to point these out. We'll start with the oligodendrites. If you look at the picture, there's one right in the center. It's kind of a bluish edge with a purple, big purple in the middle. That's the oligodendrites. They're the ones in the central nervous system that form the myelin sheaths around the axons of the neurons. So that's their role. If you'll look to the far left of the diagram, there's a long row going from the top to the bottom of yellow, like cuboidal type cells. Those are epidermal cells. Those line the internal cavities of the brain. Again, we're talking CNS, so that's the brain. You can't have epidermal cells in the PNS because there's no brain there. Same with and in somebody else, or a different type of cell does the myelin sheaths in the PNS. The microglias, if you'll look in the diagram, kind of more towards the right, there's 2, one above, one at the bottom of the diagram, one kind of in the middle of the right. They're kind of like the light little purple, like spider-looking things. Those are microglia. The other ones, you just kind of wander around and look to phagocytize any foreign material, dead material. They're kind of like the lysosomes of the neuroglia cells, but their job is just to kind of clean up the area. They check on the brain, and anything that they find that needs to be dealt with, they deal with it. The 4th member of the neuroglia cells that are in the CNS is the astrocytes, and you can see there's a lot of stuff there. You'll need to obviously pause this and get all that, but they are just in charge of anything that the brain needs: resources, protection, repair, building, whatever it might need. The astrocytes, and if you're looking at the diagram, to the left, just to the right of the epidermal cells that we looked at, there's like a red tube. That's a capillary. It's not a neuroglia cell, but on that capillary is little blue greenish little circles, little pods, feet of the astrocytes, and then they're also attached above it to the neurons. So they're the ones in charge of making sure the blood-brain barrier, that we'll talk a lot about that when we get to the brain in a couple of chapters, but that blood-brain barrier has to be a tight one. you cannot have any foreign material, bacteria, viruses, whatever, get into your brain area. You just can't have that. And you may be thinking, okay, well, what about a head cold? Well, a head cold is not necessarily in your brain. That's your nasal passages and that kind of stuff. So just keep that in mind. But the astrocytes is that bluish green thing attached both to the capillary below it and the neurons above it. All right, now for the second group, of the 6 types, remember 4 were in the CNS, 2 in the PNS. The 2 that are in the PNS are the Schwann cells. They're the ones that produce the myelin sheath around the neurons of the peripheral nervous system, and of course the satellite cells are there to kind of provide resources and to help the axon, the soma and the axon, to keep that electrical signal going, and just anything that the neuron might need as far as resources or whatever. The satellite cells are ready to go for that. Well, that's our video over Neuroglia cells. When we come back together next time, we're going to be talking about the myelin. So we'll see you then.